Hello and welcome. I'm Leigh-Ann Gerrans and you're watching W News Extra, broadcasting live from the Al Arabiya headquarters. These are our top stories. Netanyahu meets Trump at the White House as the US ramps up pressure for a Gaza ceasefire deal. Meanwhile, President Trump turns up the heat on trade, sending tariff warning letters to 14 countries while extending the deadline to the 1st of August. And the French president kicks off a state visit to the UK, blending royal ceremony with tough talks on migration and Ukraine. Now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with US President Donald Trump at the White House as talks to end the Gaza war continue. Trump expressed optimism about a ceasefire, saying Hamas want to meet for peace. Netanyahu, meanwhile, said he's working with the US on plans to relocate Palestinians out of Gaza. During one of their meetings, Netanyahu presented Trump with a Nobel Peace Prize nomination. Let's take a listen.
The president has an extraordinary team, and I think our teams together make an extraordinary combination to meet challenges and seize opportunities. But the president has already realized great opportunities. He forged the Abraham Accords. He's forging peace as we speak in one country and one region after the other. So I want to present to you, Mr. President, the letter I sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. It's nominating you for the Peace Prize, which is well-deserved, and you should get it.
Thank you very much. This I didn't know. Wow. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming from you in particular, this is very meaningful. Thank you very much, baby.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. It's a great honor.
To discuss this and all of today's stories, I'm joined by Al Arabiya senior presenter Rawia, Alami, and Dubai 92 presenter Jono Hayes. Rawia, we'll start with you. So there we are, everyone sitting around for a dinner last night at the White House, and Netanyahu presents his Nobel Peace Prize nomination. Does Donald Trump stand a chance right now that he could be a Nobel Peace Prize
Well,
winner?
in my view, and in a short answer, no, or not necessarily. But let me break it down. Now, the official criteria for gaining or being awarded this Nobel Prize is the person who shall have this prize should have done the most, or, and I quote for you, by the way, should have done the most or the best work for fraternity between nations, for the abolition or reduction of standing armies, for the holding and promotion of peace congresses. Now, what that means in today's terms, it means that conflict resolution, negotiating peace settlements, it means also disarmament and anti-war, anti-nuclear initiatives, human rights advocacy, democracy promotion as well, humanitarian aids in war zones like we see in Gaza, combating climate change, and we know President Trump's stance on that, promoting dialogue and reconciliation in divided societies. Now, also, there are preconditions for those. The recipient's efforts must promote peace in a non-violent way. So therefore, if we take, for example, his achievement in the Israel-Iran recent war, the 12-day war, what he achieved was basically a ceasefire, and getting the American military involved directly in the war might be an obstacle because of the the requirement for a non-violent promotion of peace. That's number one. Another problem that they might have, that the work must demonstrate a tangible, lasting impact on peace, which means a permanent resolution for any conflict. Now, has President Trump reached that in the Gaza war? We are talking about still negotiations for a 60-day ceasefire. So unless there is a complete resolution for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict or the Iranian-Israeli conflict, because the conflict has not been resolved, the war has stopped, the 12-day war, but the conflict has not been resolved. So in that case, I don't think so. Some people might argue, but he managed to get with the Abraham Accord, he managed to normalize relations between Israel and so many Arab states, but these states were not really at war with Israel. And we are talking about this is a part of a bigger conflict, which is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which is not resolved yet. So, in short, maybe not. And also, I would like to just add that the fact that Netanyahu was the person who nominated President Trump means nothing. Anybody can nominate anyone. And we should not forget that Netanyahu is a politician that is basically there's an arrest warrant against him by the ICC for crimes against humanity and war crimes as well.
Jono, I do hear everything that Rawia is saying. Right now, Donald Trump has really tried to negotiate, to be the deal maker, to bring Ukraine and Russia to the table, to bring Israel and Hamas to the table, to bring Iran and Israel to the table too. And what I think is quite interesting is we saw Netanyahu there at the White House. He's meeting Donald Trump again this evening, and he's sticking around until Thursday. So this is actually a particularly long state visit.
Yes, and this is, I think, it's largely symbolic as well. Like Rawia said, handing somebody a Nobel Peace Prize, I could equally hand one to Rawia right now, but based upon what merit might be required, you may or may not win it. But I do think Donald Trump may stand a chance here, and I would base that upon the Abraham Accords being so pivotal in such a massive change, because it's not just based upon what he's doing currently, it's based upon what he's achieved over previous years. So one might argue that you could take that, and then who knows where we're standing this time next week in terms of a ceasefire deal or maybe something more long term, because Netanyahu sticking around for the week definitely indicates that something is on the cards. Now, what that is and what the deal is, we have no idea, and we've no intel from inside the inner workings of Washington to find out exactly what's happening. But Trump has claimed Hamas is open to a deal, says there's a willingness there as well from both sides to try and agree on that. And him sticking around until Thursday, this indicates that we could see something by the end of this week.
And you know what? Actually, Sky News has been reporting today that two sources close to ceasefire negotiations has said US President Donald Trump is putting heavy pressure on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to end the war in Gaza. So he could be sticking around till Thursday, and Donald Trump could really be amping up the pressure, because we also know Steve Witkoff, who was, of course, Trump's special envoy. The first ceasefire, he had a lot to do with negotiations back and forth. He'll be in Doha this week, where indirect talks between Israel and Hamas are happening. So I think what we can say is there's a lot of moving pieces here, and hopefully some resolution will come, and that will be for the Palestinian people.
Everybody certainly hopes so, but I mean, thinking about it, since Netanyahu is the one who nominated President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, so maybe, I mean, with some concessions from the Israelis, a bit from Hamas, he can help Trump gain basically such a Nobel Prize. But I want to go back to that issue specifically. I think, Jono, that there is a possibility as well, if we look back when President Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize.
What was that even for?
I'm coming to that. He got it in 2009, just 1 year after he took office. He is the only American president who actually was awarded this prize while he was in office. And he got it for extraordinary efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation between people, which is extremely vague.
It's very vague, it's very loose.
So, I mean, if Obama got it for that reason, and actually President Trump commented on this, and he said, but even Obama doesn't know what he got it for, maybe there's a possibility as well.
Yeah, again, we have to look at Ukraine and the Russia situation, which continues. And again, issues that take place in Yemen and Sudan, where the US are getting involved there as well. And they're trying to be seen as the peacemaker. And the Abraham Accords, the continuation of that, is what we're seeing the Trump administration trying to achieve. And I think this would be a fine feather in the cap for Donald Trump, and certainly one that he would wear very proudly if he was to grace this or Time Magazine's Person of the Year. Either of those two accolades I think he'd be delighted with. So I think we could see that. Now, there is domestic pressure on Netanyahu as well to reach a deal as well. You have to remember that there is a lot of public fatigue in Israel currently that people are experiencing. So you've got that coupled with the huge humanitarian crisis in Gaza, meaning that sticking around for a week is nothing but good news. There is, of course, the flip side of the coin. We may not see a resolution this week because there is, of course, Israel saying they want Hamas completely defeated. They want them completely removed from Gaza, and Hamas saying that they want full withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza as well. So that is going to be a difficult one to reconcile.
Even though it was reported earlier this week that the differences between the Israelis and Hamas stands on the American proposal are very narrow, much narrower than they used to be. So we might see, let's hope.
But he does have the coalition from his side as well, who are vehemently opposed to any sort of a ceasefire unless it guarantees total victory. So that's going to be a difficult obstacle to overcome now. He's been removed from that, and taking Netanyahu out of Israel and putting him into Washington is going to force him somewhat, almost ratted into a corner to try and make some decisions here that his coalition may not overly agree with, and he will have to go back and answer to them afterwards. But there's still that element of a lack of trust on both sides that is going to take more than one day to work through. I think it's largely a positive outcome, but I think Thursday will certainly tell a lot. And I wouldn't be surprised if that extends a day or two more beyond that as well.
And I actually think what will be really interesting, and one of the main issues of contention, is the hostages. And I think we might be able to see some resolution to that, and hopefully some resolution to the aid situation.
Yes.
And then, you know, Israel gets back their hostages, which families are so desperate for, and of course the people of Gaza get aid. But once again, let's see positive signals, I think, coming out to some extent. So we do hold out a lot of hope. And I also think Donald Trump will get that Nobel Peace Prize. I agree with Jono. Sorry about that, Rawia. Yeah.
I said there's a possibility.
There's a big
I mean,
possibility.
if Obama got it for such a big, achievement, then
wilder things
who
have
knows?
happened. Yeah, absolutely. Great thoughts on that story. But stay right there as we move on to another story now. And US President Donald Trump is turning up the pressure on America's trading partners, sending tariff warning letters to 14 countries while extending the deadline for new reciprocal tariffs to the 1st of August. The letters outline steep new rates, some as high as 40%, unless those trade deals are reached. Major partners like Japan and South Korea say they are indeed ready to negotiate. Oh, Jono, we're back on the tariff chats. I feel like I went away for a little bit. It's come back. And there was already this 90-day pause that we saw on tariffs, which gave everyone a little bit of a reprieve just to try and recalculate what was going on, because it was all a little bit confusing. And now a further extension is happened that we've heard about to the 1st of August, not tomorrow. And it seems like things are probably a little bit more difficult behind the scenes that we're given credit for.
I think we may be underestimating the complexities involved in reaching one of these trade agreements. And for any trade agreement with any two parties, the normal procedure would be by an envoy being sent from one country to another to reach that trade agreement, to hammer out the finer details. And it's a process that does not take one telephone call, much akin to what we saw Keir Starmer and Donald Trump have a couple of months ago. It's not quite that easy. There's many back-end legislations that need to be worked through as well. And I think the complexities of those may have been a slight oversight on the part of the administration, of the Trump administration, and certainly on the part of countries who are keen to make a deal as well. It's going to require a lot of work. It's top on the list of priorities, but there's been, as we've spoken about, a lot of other big issues as well. So I think that reprieve of the next 30 or 20 days extra is there to try and assist. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a slight extension on that for certain big markets that he needs to find a deal with for the benefit of both, a mutually beneficial deal.
And also the problem is imports and exports. A lot of the stuff was trying to get into the country, ships had already sold, people were confused about how this was going to work out. So there's also borders in the middle of that, as well as trying to, get a tariff deal, reciprocal one, that's fair between both countries organised. The UK, I don't know, Keir Starmer, you remember he signed the deal with the US and it all seemed almost a little bit, almost jumped the gun a bit, because then Donald Trump rolled back. But hey-ho, he got in first. Are we likely to see other countries do the same thing?
Well, let's understand what was achieved with the deal between the UK and the US, and later with Vietnam as well, between Vietnam and the US. What they have agreed on is it was more of a broad framework to speeding up talks and continue to negotiate until they reach a full deal. So it was not actually a full deal with ironed out details. As you said, Jono, that takes years sometimes with so many details, a lot of legislation. So it takes a lot of time. But I think what possibly President Trump is trying to do is to get the ball rolling, basically, that this extension is to get some countries, and I will name now, you know, some of these countries and where the negotiations have reached, to get them to the level of where the UK and Vietnam have reached with the US.
But China also has a
China has a
framework in
partial
place.
deal.
Yeah.
That's true. Also, the US has said that there's a deal with India is quite close. The EU is also engaged in talks, and there are reports that, you know, they're reaching somewhere. We shouldn't forget also that we're talking about two very close allies also of the US that are included in the list of countries, the 14 countries that have been warned and given until the 1st of August to reach a deal. We're talking about Japan, South Korea. Japan is the fifth America's fifth biggest supplier of imports, and South Korea is in the top 10. We're talking about more than 9% of American
And
imports.
that's all
that come.
tech. It's all semiconductor
Yes.
tech
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Yes, pharmaceuticals and
it's stuff
cars
that
and
we rely on every day because it's in our mobile phones, it's in our computers, it's in our laptops.
That's true.
So it's
That's
like
true.
everyday stuff.
It's going to be mutually beneficial, and again, I know those 14 letters that are sent out warning, maybe a stretch in terms of what they are, but they are letters that are sent out. There's renewed threats for the 25% tariff, and no country wants to achieve that. I think they'll move quickly to come up with some sort of a plan in place that they can agree with the Trump administration and say, this is our thoughts, here's our feedback, and we work towards that. But I really don't think that August the 1st is even an attainable deadline for any of these countries. There's been political and diplomatic pushback from Japan and from South Korea on the tariffs so far. That's likely to continue. That's not something that's going to iron out in 20 days. So they've got a long road ahead, and as Rawia said,
even
it
though
could be
both
years.
countries have said that, you know, talks are ongoing, we are talking to the US, we're trying to iron out, you know, or at least trying to reach a deal within that framework or within that deadline.
Yeah.
But as you said, it's not something that can be achieved easily. It takes years and a lot of...
And globalization
yeah,
is just
work.
part of our life now, isn't it? Like, we've got to think about it. We all order from all over the world. That's how things have worked. So to change it into America First policy, which Donald Trump has vowed to do, he's got to get tough on these countries and make sure that these deals come through really for his audience at home.
And it's aggressive. It's an aggressive form of politics as well. He's practicing with this. And time will tell if it's working or not. But certainly so far from everything we've had with the negotiations and the Canada chats, the UK chats, seems to so far have been working as a policy. So he's going to try and push that further. And I do think the reason August 1st has been touted, it seems very, very close. And there will be a sense of panic among these countries to try and find something that's mutually beneficial.
And also, I think it comes into the fact that if those costs are passed on to US consumers, Donald Trump's putting pressure on the Bank of America, of course, the central bank, to cut interest rates so that pressure isn't felt at home.
Prices have already gone up for the American consumer on so many goods, household goods, cars, and so forth. And therefore, yes, something has to be done. Otherwise, the American consumer is, at the end of the day, who's going to suffer.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably why he's kicking the can down the road to see if those interest rates will be cut by the Federal Reserve, you know, of course, to see what happens by that deadline. But it's a really interesting conversation, and one I've got a funny feeling we'll be talking about again,
Absolutely.
before and after the 1st of August. Thanks for your thoughts on that. Let's move on to another story. And Tesla shares fell nearly 8% on Monday following Elon Musk's announcement that he plans to launch a new political party called the America Party. The electric vehicle company lost $68 billion following the news, which a former friend turned foe, President Trump, had just called ridiculous. The latest political move by Musk has made investors extremely nervous after sales plummeted during the CEO's time in the Department of Government Efficiency, other known as DOGE. So, okay, Elon Musk. I felt like I wanted that bromance to last. It didn't. They had a public breakup. It's all gone a bit wrong, hasn't it?
It went so
Yeah, it went so wrong so quick.
So quick.
So quick and publicly. You know, nothing worse than a breakup on public
As
stage.
we were saying actually before, you
Yeah.
said that the richest man in the world, the most powerful man in the
Yeah.
world, it's hard for them to share the...
But I really
the
wanted
pie.
them to be friends because I felt like they needed each other, but obviously clearly didn't work out. Okay, so is it America First Party, I think that's what, no, the America Party, original name. But is it just a way of Elon Musk getting back at Donald Trump? Is it just his frustration, or do you think he's actually really going to follow through with this?
Well, he's going to try, definitely. But I think it is a bit of both. It is personal retaliation from Musk towards President Trump. And at the same time, there is genuine desire for policy change on behalf or on the part of Elon Musk. We shouldn't forget that basically, I think predominantly it is retaliation. Musk announced that he will create this party, America Party, just days after the big tax bill was passed by the Congress. And also, he called this bill an insane spending bill because it's going to add $3.4 trillion to the deficit. And Elon Musk has warned repeatedly that this deficit is going to bankrupt the country. And this is where it could be a real policy or a genuine policy desire to change the American policy. However, of course, President Trump has threatened to cut federal subsidies to Musk's companies like SpaceX and Tesla. He also retaliated. He also basically did so many things to hinder SpaceX as well, which I think is quite insane, because if you think about how many satellites that are orbiting the Earth, apparently America owns 8,000 of those. 7,000 are owned by Tesla, and in light of the space satellite wars between China and the US, it means that America is shooting itself in the foot, basically, if it does all the policies that hinder SpaceX from doing its work.
And I think that's been sort of the result of the spat that we've seen, haven't we, between the public one, between Trump and Musk. You know, there were kind of, grievances fired across both social media accounts. But I just wonder about political parties forming, especially in the US. You know, it's always been Democrats and Republicans as far back as I can remember, and I'm only 18. But, you know, is it a good thing for democracy,
Look,
Jono?
I think it is, like, the more parties there are in most countries in the world, the better, because then you can pick which one you prefer to support and go behind. The US is a different beast.
Yeah.
It is Democrats, Republicans, that's it. And there have been splinter groups who've tried and who have failed. A few different reasons, one of them being public support, the second one being financial support. As Rawia mentioned, finance, not so much of an issue when you're Elon Musk.
Of course.
You can fund the political party, but a splinter group is going to fracture the vote. And that's then an issue, because now you take your hardcore Trump fans, who were also hardcore Elon Musk fans, and now you're splitting that vote down ever so slightly as well. And you think, right, well, how much can the party suffer? And where are these votes wasted votes? Because we've heard before, previously been said, when you're voting in the presidential race in the US, your vote for an independent is effectively a spoiled ballot vote, because it is a waste of time. You may as well just not vote, because it's not really making any difference. You're not making any change. And it's a tricky one, because this is where politics are now meeting business models, because in what case you may have Elon Musk has formed his own party. Does Jeff Bezos form his own party? And now we're voting, because we have a celebrity in the White House, effectively. That's what Donald Trump is, a celebrity in the White House who is a businessman. And I'm not taking away from my support that I've always given for what Donald Trump has come to the table with, but I think that something like this will splinter down the party more than they need. And now you've got MAGA fans who've got two potential places to go, and he needs the votes that he can get across the board, be it Senate or House or otherwise. He requires those people to continue loyal to the House of Trump.
I agree with that, but also when I think of Tesla and I think of SpaceX and I think of Elon Musk, really, he's the richest man in the world. He's lost a lot of money through being involved in politics, right or wrong. the reasons he went in were valid. And I think, is Elon Musk going to be taking just this absolutely massive gamble because he's so clever? We've got to remember he's a genius of our generation, and no one can deny that. Electric vehicles, reusable rockets, Starlink, as you mentioned, satellites. Reputationally, I worry if he now gets involved in this, are investors going to really panic that he's just moved so far away from what he's been amazing at? And
they
that
already
is his
have. I
companies.
think they already have. Today, it's been reported that the shareholders of Tesla have been pressuring the board to keep Elon Musk away from politics as he's preparing to delve back into politics with this America Party. But as you said, Jono, the main hindrance usually for a third party, which has never ever succeeded, even though the polls show that 58% of Americans want a third party to get out of this, gridlock of just the two parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, yet still it had never worked. But the main hindrance has always been funding. Now, Elon Musk has funded the nomination and the election campaign of President Trump with $250 million to $280 million. So he's not lacking in funds. Yet it's going to take, well, according to experts, it takes usually about 10 years and $1 billion to be able to create a new national party.
I would argue that you could say it takes a lot less and it just takes disgruntled citizens to make a new political party. If we take the UK, for instance, and Reform Party, and their huge turnover of success, even in the local elections that took place, 667 out of the 1,600 seats in primarily Tory counties, basically, have been taken by the Reform Party with Nigel Farage at the helm. And the whole reason why he has gained such massive popularity is a disgruntled population of people who thought, I am not happy with A or B, I would like to go for C instead. And that's been a quick turnaround that is probably 2 to 3 years.
But I do think the UK is different politically, just if we look at them compared to the US, because, we've always had the Liberal Democrats too. So there's always almost been a three-party. We have Conservative, Labour, Lib Dem has always been in place. The Green Party's another party. So there is fourth, and now we're getting Reform in, which is essentially now leading in the polls, but was a fifth big main party to be created. But I think my concern with Elon Musk is I think he could really change the world if he concentrated on business.
But we shouldn't forget that he's with the Doge experience. A lot of people, he lost a lot of popularity. He's even less popular. His favorability is about 36% compared to Trump's 42%, and he's competing for the Trump voters. So basically, how successful would he be to gain these voters after everything that he's done in Doge? After a lot of people and experts are saying that he's incapable of consistency, he's quite rash. His rash decisions might affect, political change. Maybe they don't have a lot of trust in him. So I'm not sure.
Also, we've taken away from the fact that if he does this, we've seen the scathing comments from Trump previously when they've got into a spat with each other. Is that really something he wants to go through again? I mean, Elon Musk has got enough political hurdles to try and overcome to form this party, to get into the race and to finance it and fund it and back it. I don't know if he needs Trump down his neck about this, because he will go absolutely nuclear on him.
But another thing is who's going to lead the party, because Trump was not born in America. Trump was born in South Africa, and he can only become the president.
Musk. Yes.
Sorry.
Yes, absolutely.
Musk was born. I don't got them.
In order to be a president, you need to be born in the United States.
Born in the United States.
He's naturalized.
So there's a lot of questions around this. I do apologise. Of course, Donald Trump was born in America. Elon Musk was born in South Africa. Anyway, let's move on. Now, the British royal family have hosted French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte at Windsor Castle as part of a 3-day state visit. Earlier, they were welcomed by the Prince and Princess of Wales before being taken to Parliament to meet the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. The Macrons are attending a state banquet this evening, where the French leader will say the two countries face complex threats, but will face them together as friends and also allies. Oh, you know, Jono, I just love a state visit. It's fabulous, isn't it?
The pomp, the pageantry, it's everything.
They've had it out, the carriages, the horses, the gold, you name it. But, you know, have there been any political talks? You know, we're talking about pomp and ceremony, but it's really about the policy too, right? Exactly.
The pomp and ceremony is the facade for what's going on underneath here. And France and UK as a conversation is something that I think has been overdue for a while. And I think that this is the precursor. This is almost the bring them round to the in-laws' house and give them tea before we bring them down tomorrow to meet your dad, because you know that that's going to be a bit more of a serious conversation. So the immigration and the border control in general has been such a crux between the UK and France. And I think that this is, come on over, let's have a beautiful ceremony for you and you can see everything that we have to offer. But then let's get down to business, which is on the way tomorrow. And Macron and Keir Starmer will sit down and hopefully talk business about something that I think, certainly with voters in the UK and with the population in general, this is a huge issue. 20,000 migrants have made it past the border and across the channel in the first 6 months of 2025, which is up by almost 50% on 2024. We know that there are countless, currently I think they're saying 8 to 15 on some days, boats making it across the channel. On some days there is 0 because they're being policed so well. But clearly this is a flashpoint for political tension and something needs to be actioned on it soon. The public are disgruntled and voter popularity for Keir Starmer is at such an all-time low that something needs to be achieved. The initial pomp and ceremony of a royal welcome and a royal gala dinner is something that is to pave the way, grease up the machine, so to speak, for tomorrow's proper talks.
And it was actually the first state visit by a European leader since Brexit. So that's also signs that, you know, Britain wants to know where it stands within the realm of the European Union. They don't want to be on the outside. And I think this is clearly something that Labour has been pushing as we see them come into government. But the President, Emmanuel Macron, saying he wants to see tangible results on migration, as you said, it is absolutely a key point right now for France and also for the UK. But Macron's trip actually comes before Donald Trump's state visit. And, you know, the royal family in the UK and around the world, how are they viewed? And do you think that they're kind of there, like you said, to grease up the machine before the difficult chats come along the line politically?
I think, absolutely, I agree with Jono. I mean, the British royal family are considered a soft power machine. Their popularity is extremely high globally. It surpasses politicians and governments. And polls consistently show that they definitely, in the UK at least, it outpaces all politicians that have, you know, that were in government over the years. Also, I mean, I can give you a few examples of this. Queen Elizabeth in 2011 visited Ireland, your country, where she spoke Gaelic at a Dublin castle, and it literally exemplifies the royalty's ability to dissolve years of tensions, years of wounds in a way that politicians can't. Other examples, I mean, there are so many examples. We've seen the recent King Charles visit to Canada, how popular he was there. Also, Kate Middleton's dress, by the way, your outfit during Macron's visit, this one that we're talking about, went viral, basically. It was trending.
And it was so beautiful.
It was
like a
definitely
dusky pink colour. She had the matching hat on and, you know, she greeted Brigitte Macron and Emmanuel Macron as they came down the stairs at the airport. And it just looked so formal, in the sunshine. Britain, no one does it like Britain, do they? The pomp,
absolutely.
the
I mean, there's this awe that everybody feels from east to west when it comes to the British royalty. Everybody loves them. And I think, yes, definitely they are capable of achieving, you know, things that politicians are not.
But I think it'll be very, like you said, it's soft politics. This is not, the conversation tonight over this gala dinner is not, it's a state banquet.
It's
not going to
policy.
be, what are you doing about the asylum seekers? That's not the conversation that King Charles is going to be having. Absolutely not. This is a very make nice situation. And then Keir Starmer and Macron can go in, have the chat tomorrow and hopefully work towards something that is, because I really think that this could be the downfall of Keir Starmer if he does not action this in the very near future.
But also the downfall of Emmanuel Macron. He
For
has
sure.
18 months left in power. He can't run for a third term. We know, this is the end of his, the last few months or last year or so, as many people are saying. But once again, if you look at analysts, and they've been looking at the speech that Macron made in the Houses of Parliament today, they're saying there's no actual agreement on migration. There might be a pilot agreement announced tomorrow, but nothing officially. And once again, I think this is a dangerous place for both Starmer and Macron to be on migration at this time.
I don't think it's sensible for either of them, and I think they've promised millions over and over again, said we'll put millions to border protection, we'll beef up the French security, because they can't patrol the entirety of, we know that, we've seen the videos of it happening, they can't patrol it, and the UK have said we'll give money, but nothing's actually exchanged hands, nothing's handed over, and it continues to be a problem, and a big problem.
Absolutely, a big problem in politics, and I also always wonder what's on the menu for those state banquets. I know.
Lobster.
I'll look that up next time. Okay, and finally, Rawia and Jono, you've come up with a couple of quirky stories of the day. Rawia's, yours is just absolutely nuts. I can't get my head around the story. A 64-year-old...
It's almost unbelievable.
It's crazy, right? Tell us about the 64-year-old man who's had surgery to remove something he swallowed as a child.
Yes. He's 64, this Chinese man. He felt a strange sensation in his stomach. He went to the doctors, so they told him, well, after doing all the tests and x-rays, that apparently there is a toothbrush, a 7-inch toothbrush lodged in his small intestines. So he said, yes, I actually swallowed this when I was 12.
How do you swallow
So he's
a
been having it
toothbrush?
in his digestive system for 52 years.
Wow.
Apparently he was too scared to tell his parents about it, and he thought that it will just dissolve with time, and it didn't. Anyways, they operated on him for like 80 minutes until they removed that toothbrush. What I'm really surprised with is how come for 52 years he did not have medical problems,
Or acid
complications,
reflux.
Yeah, or anything.
or
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
But, the first time he felt stomach ache, he went in, and that was like, 52 years later to
Wow,
remove this.
it's terrifying. I mean, I've never been in a situation where the toothbrush has gone to the point where I thought this
How
is
could you
going the wrong
swallow a
direction.
full-size 7-inch
I'm unaware.
toothbrush?
I
I'm
remember,
unaware.
like, as a child, we used to, put things up our nose or in our ears. Do you know?
This is why they say don't do this.
Yeah, that's why they say don't do it.
Exactly.
Every sign has got a reason.
I have got a story about, as children, you put breakfast cereal up your, I don't know, just do stupid things.
Crayons.
Crayons, just random stuff. But I'm glad that he's okay now, and kids at home don't do it. And it's bizarre. And Jono, oh my gosh, these stories. The world's narrowest
great.
car.
Well, Italy have unveiled the world's, you're going to love seeing this, the narrowest car. It is a custom-built Fiat 500. It's a Fiat Panda. It's only 50 centimetres, so half a metre. This is it. It looks like it's been in some sort of an altercation and whereby they've smashed it down. What you're seeing here is the making it out of a 1993 Fiat Panda. Andrea Marazzi is the Italian mechanic who's handcrafted this together. Now, it has got space in the front for the driver, which is great, you need that, but also space at the back for one very slender person to fit
You
in
need to
there.
be of a certain size to be able to drive this. I mean, you cannot be
under
a bit
50
overweight.
centimetres is the...
Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, it drives like any regular car. It is quite slow, however, though, as well. But it is on 4 wheels. It's not a dual wheel, but it's perfect for tight parking spaces.
Absolutely.
You can park it either direction, which is fantastic, much like a smart car. It does
But it's
look...
embarrassing, Jono.
Yeah, but
would you want to go, Rawia, would you want to go up the road
I would
in
fit.
that?
I would definitely
Yeah, you
fit.
would definitely fit. But do you think that's
No.
something do you think that's oh my gosh, I'm going to
gonna-
ride to see
Well, look,
my
Definitely
coffee
not.
with my friends? You're going to think I'm killing it.
The side
And I
profile,
feel
the side
that-
profile of the car looks fine, right? It looks like a retro 1993 car. But then
In 2D.
In 2D.
Yes.
But then I feel the same when I see somebody get out of a smart car and I think,
It looks like a roller skate.
that's brave, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it's
so
brave.
so I feel the same, that this is a smart car, but it's kind of a retro version of it. So
Yeah.
I for one, know I wouldn't be caught dead inside in it. But it is for the person who is maybe...
Look at it. So funny. It has one eye, one.
But
One light.
It's an out there, different kind of car. Some people are saying it's ugly, that it's fit for Mr. Bean. Some people are saying, is it a Flintstone type car where you just put your feet down
Yeah,
and pedal? But the good news is it can go in cycle lanes. So every negative is a
No.
positive. Yes, it's ugly, but this thing can go in cycle lanes. So there's your positive.
That's where I object. I'm sick
Can
and
avoid
tired
traffic.
of people in the cycle lane. I'm sick and tired of micro scooters in the cycle lane. I'm sick and tired of everybody who thinks that they've got, I don't know. get out the cycle
Are you
lane.
cycling often?
Well,
or-
exactly. Do you
No, I
cycle?
just find it very annoying. I find things like this annoying. I feel like when I'm walking down the road and there's a micro scooter and then now there's a Fiat Panda skinny.
Well, at least
Fiat.
this one you can
Oh.
hear because it's got a motor, so it's not like because I find the e-scooters I find are almost the silent killer. You
Yes.
don't know it's coming.
Yeah.
But this, you can be sure a Fiat Panda will definitely, with a 50cc motor on there, make enough noise to know that it's on the way.
Oh my God, it sounds like an old motorbike, you know, the 50cc motorbike going. But let's be honest, you wouldn't be caught dead in that.
Absolutely
For me, no.
not. Absolutely,
Absolutely
not.
not.
Okay, but thank you so much for bringing it to us. I'm sure that they'll really love it in Italy. So thank you to today's guests, Al Arabiya senior presenter Rawia Alami and Dubai 92 presenter Jono Hayes. And that's all from us on W News Extra. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and, of course, follow us on X. G&T with Tom Burgess Watson is coming up next. Goodbye and thank you.